Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into the amazing academic field that's all about understanding one of the most powerful forces in human history, religion. And we're going to see how the entire way we study it was completely flipped on its head by one single powerful idea. Okay, so let's jump right in with a concept that really gets to the heart of how we study religion today. It's an idea that kind of forces us to look way beyond what we think we already know. This quote, you guys, it's basically the core principle for any modern scholar of religion. Just think about it for a second. To really get what religion is, its patterns, its purpose, its role in our lives, you can't just look through one tiny window. You need the whole panoramic view. So the question is, where do we even start? Well, before you can compare anything, you have to define it, right? And when it comes to religion, that is surprisingly incredibly difficult. I mean, scholars have literally come up with more than 80 different definitions, and guess what? Nobody thinks any of them are perfect. Let's look at a quick example to see why.
So let's take a super common definition, something like belief in God. Seems simple enough. But right away, we smash into a huge wall. A definition like that completely leaves out mainline Buddhism, which is one of the world's biggest faiths, because a creator God just isn't central to their idea of salvation. And that's just one example. It shows you we need a much bigger, more flexible way of looking at this.
So this very problem, this challenge of defining things from a single perspective, it created a kind of necessity that, back in the late 19th century, was the mother of invention. It led to the birth of a whole new academic field. You have to realize, for a very, very long time, scholars in the West were analyzing the entire world pretty much through a Christian lens. It didn't matter if they were talking about law or mysticism or how society works, the default frame of reference was always singular. And eventually, they started to realize, hey, this is giving us a really incomplete and, let's be honest, often biased picture of humanity. And this is the game changer, the huge shift, pioneered by a German scholar named Max Mueller. The idea was, instead of just trying to understand a concept like, say, asceticism from only one point of view, the new method was to look at it across many different traditions. This comparative approach, well, it lets you get a much deeper, more complete, and way less biased understanding of the whole thing.
All right, so if you're gonna compare all these different religions effectively, you can't just wing it. Scholars needed a toolkit. They needed systems to classify this incredible diversity of belief, and they needed a really precise vocabulary to even talk about it all. So, how in the world do you start to organize all these traditions? Well, this table gives you a peek at some of the different lenses scholars use. For instance, they might look at origin, grouping faiths from the Middle East versus those from Asia. Or they could focus on theology. Is there one God, or are there many? Even structure becomes a way to sort things out. Does the religion have a central holy book, or is it passed down through oral tradition? Each of these lenses gives us a totally different map for seeing the connections and the differences. Using the right words is also absolutely key. Take the word sect or mezhab. Originally, this didn't mean a whole separate religion. It meant a specific school of thought inside a larger one, kind of like the different schools of law you see in Islam. Then there's the term nation, or millah. In classical Islamic thinking, this word was used to talk about the whole community of monotheistic faiths. The ones that trace their spiritual family tree back to Abraham. And finally, Sharia. Now, while it specifically means the divine laws and rules of a religion, sometimes the term gets used in a much broader sense to talk about the entire religious system. Knowing these little differences is so important for making accurate comparisons. Okay. So we've got the toolkit, we've got the comparative method, but what's the point? What's the real goal here? What's the ultimate payoff for studying religions this way? And here it is. This is the payoff. This whole approach gives us 4 huge benefits. Number 1, you get a way richer, way more truthful understanding of big religious ideas. Number 2, and this one is fascinating, you actually get a much deeper insight into your own faith by seeing how it looks from the outside. 3, it builds bridges between cultures. And 4, it gives you the tools you need for some really sharp, critical thinking. Now, this might sound a little weird at first, but learning about another tradition can seriously light up your own. The sources we looked at have a perfect example of this. By studying the incredible depths of Indian mysticism, a person can actually gain a much, much deeper appreciation for all the nuances of Islamic mysticism.
It just creates a richer tapestry of understanding for everybody involved.
So, how does all this stuff fit into the world we live in today? Well, the story of religion in the modern era took a turn that, frankly, almost no expert saw coming. For a huge chunk of the 20th century, a lot of very smart thinkers were predicting that science and modernity would just make religion fade away. But that's not what happened. Not even close. Instead, what we've actually seen is a massive global comeback of spirituality, both inside the old school faiths and in totally new forms, plus a real revival of many indigenous religions all over the world.
And all of this leaves us with one final big thought to chew on. In our world today, which is so deeply interconnected, cultures and beliefs are bumping up against each other every single day. Is understanding this diverse, complicated, beautiful tapestry of human faith just an interesting academic hobby anymore, or has it actually become an essential skill for navigating our shared future?